Oh, hello YouTube. Today on the Naughty Librarian, I'm doing my mid-August wrap-up. I've had a day, but I do want to get this out on time, so I'm filming. Dedication. This girl has it. And I'm drinking a Côte de Rhone, because a lot of people like to know what I'm drinking. It's by Sarah Bell. Everything's in French on here, so just believe me, it's a Côte de Rhone. It's just been a rough reading month so far. Like, I've read some pretty okay books, which doesn't sound good, right? It's like, they're all right. I didn't read anything that I thought was, like, really extraordinary. So I've been going through, like, such a book slump where I'm so burnt out on bad books. And I'm tired, and I can't breathe, and my surgery's in a few days, so... Yeah, tonight's the night I'm just drinking out of the bottle. Fuck it, let's talk about books! First category is romance, and I read 2 of those. I'm gonna start this video off with a good book. So I read Rebel by Beverly Jenkins. I went in kind of with low expectations here. Not because I think Beverly Jenkins books are bad. I always think they're very well written, and like they're very good, but they're not necessarily good for me. You know what I mean? They're not my taste. This is about Valinda and Drake, and this is in like Reconstruction era New Orleans, so it's right after the Civil War. So it's also like historical fiction, but kind of historical fact. There's a lot of real history that happens in this. But, you know, we also are looking at these 2 fictional characters having a fictional romance, so that's kind of the focus of the story. But the world that they live in is actually very accurate to things that were actually going on in that time period. So you're gonna learn a couple things while reading this. And also, you're going to read about a sexy blacksmith, so it's got a lot of highlights. Valinda is a northern woman who comes to New Orleans because she wants to teach. And, you know, in New Orleans in Reconstruction era, right after the Civil War, there are a lot of freed slaves who don't know how to read and write. So she goes down there, so she really wants to make a difference and teach these people how to read and write because it's going to change their lives. And, you know, there's a lot of horrible things happening at this time period as well with, like, racism and segregation and all kinds of terribleness. So you have all that going on. And then you have Drake, who is sexy blacksmith extraordinaire. He has, like, a native family from New Orleans. They were already free. So they own land. They seem to have enough money. They own a hotel. They're doing fine. And also, Drake is kind of like a big, hulking, strapping guy who's like really sweet and conscientious, and he can like build a house, and he's a blacksmith, so like he's just like surrounded by steam all the time. I keep going on to sexy blacksmith because the idea of sexy blacksmith like does things for me. Right now, I need things to do things for me. Hey Amanda, how's the smut? I'm glad you asked. This one actually has some steamy bits in it. I was surprised. More so than usual. Like, they're not the most explicit scenes I've ever read, but they definitely, like, do stuff. There's not, like, a lot of really dirty hot sex in here, but there's enough that you're just like, okay, I see why you're surrounded by steam all the time. Like, basically, Drake is just made of sex appeal, you know? Like, he can swing a hammer, and he can save you from bad guys, and he's really smart, and he's funny, and he's charming, and he, like, has pirates in his family. Like, he has, like, everything that you would want in a, like, historical romance hero, all in one. And then you have Valinda, who's super spunky, and really wants to teach people and help people, so I think they're a good combo. I liked seeing them together. This is probably my favorite Beverly Jenkins I've read, and this is her most recent book. So I do recommend, if you're kind of like me and you're like, I don't really know if I genuinely like her type of books, but like I like her writing. The other romance I read was Her Royal Highness by Rachel Hawkins, and this is kind of like complete opposite spectrum here. This is YA, this is FF, and it's a rom-com. This is about Millie and Flora. We had met Flora previously in the book previous to this, Royals, aka Prince Charming, because they renamed it. And Princess Flora is kind of like the wild child of this royal family, and she gets sent to this boarding school in Scotland. In comes Millie, a plucky American who's like a geology nerd. She wants to like learn about rocks all day, and she just had a horrible breakup with a girl in America, And it was so bad that she's like, I'm running away to Scotland. So here they are in Scotland. They end up at this boarding school and they end up being roommates. And this is definitely more of an enemies to lovers type of romance. They do not get along. Flora's kind of, at one point, Millie calls her Veruca Salt, and that's the best way to describe her a lot of the time. She is very spoiled rotten a lot. And then Millie is just like a geology nerd. So put those together, it doesn't always work. There is a lot of antagonism here, a lot of bickering, and then eventually they start to become actually friends, and then they kind of become more than friends. And overall, it's just like a huge fluffy rom-com. This is like the fluffiest fluff that ever fluffed. Like, sometimes I need that. I just like a fluffy book. Like, seriously, like, if picture a blue cupcake and that's the book. That's just a big blue cupcake of a rom-com. Sometimes you just need that. I enjoyed reading it. I think I give it like 3.5 stars. It's not reinventing the wheel, but it's definitely like a cute, light read. I read it all in one day. It's very short, but it's fun. If you just want something light and fluffy, you don't have to think very hard, this is your jam. Next category is urban fantasy, and I read 2 of those. You know, I've just come to terms with the fact that I'm trash for anything Jennifer Armentrout writes. I'm always gonna be trash for it. I can't get enough of her teen melodrama. I love it. There's something about it that immediately like connects with my soul. I don't know why. Like, objectively speaking, do I think this is a great book? Probably not. Subjectively speaking, I fucking love it and I couldn't stop reading it. This is the highest rated book I've read this month, and I know realistically it's probably not that good of a book, but it's still the highest. Oh my gosh. I give it 4.5 stars because I literally did not want to put it down. It was so much fun to read. This is a continuation of the Dark Elements series. The Dark Elements is basically angsty teen gargoyles fighting demons. What more do you need? This one is a continuation of that series, so it's kind of a spin-off, but it is definitely new adult because these characters are all 18 and over. And there is some explicitness in here. It is new adult. But this is following Zane. Zane was one of the main characters from the original trilogy that, you know, didn't have the happy ending. So now he has his own series where he's gonna have his happy ending, I'm assuming someday. And his love interest is this girl named Trinity. She's been raised with the wardens. That's what they call gargoyles in this book, wardens. She's been raised with them and she can see like ghosts, and she is actually her own special snowflake. I won't say what it is because it's kind of a reveal later on, but she has her own special thing going for her. She also happens to be going blind. She has a degenerative eye disease. So that's kind of interesting for a heroine, that she's slowly going blind. But there's a lot of action. There's gargoyles fighting demons. There's Zane, who, oh, okay, you know what? I'm gonna talk about this for a minute. They are exploring a part of relationships that I don't see a lot of in romance, where, without too many spoilers, because this is a continuation of after the original trilogy has ended. So Zane, like I said, did not get the happy ending. He doesn't get the girl in the end, because, you know, YA, there's always a love triangle. And Zane is very much not over that. So you have a story here where Zane meets Trinity, and it's obvious, like, OTP, like, they're supposed to be together. It's perfect. And in a perfect world, they would just get together and be happy. But the problem is, Zane is not ready for that because he's still so fucked up in the head and heartbroken about what happened in the last series. So it's like that weird relationship thing where you meet someone and it's perfect and you know this was be really good, but you can't handle it yet. You're not ready for it. So it's that weird emotional state that I don't see explored all that often. So I did appreciate that they took the time to explore that aspect. Because, I mean, we've all been there. We've all been rebounding so hard, you know you shouldn't be dating even though you meet someone that's really good. So, we've all been there, but I don't ever see it talked about. I mean, and in the end, what it comes down to is action-packed. It has emotional bits that are very melodramatic, but you get into it because you're so into the characters. It doesn't matter that it's silly, like, you just love it. And also, it has gargoyles, angst, and demon fights. Like, what more stuff do you need in a book? And like, I love it. I couldn't put it down. Love it to bits. I know it's not good necessarily, but it's good for me. So I do recommend if you also trash your teen melodrama sometime, and this is for you. The other urban fantasy I read was Magic for Liars by Sarah Gailey. This was definitely recommended to me by several people, and I was so excited to pick this up. I heard it described as Harry Potter noir, and I was like, noir Harry Potter? I'm listening, tell me more. And you know what, that's kind of true. I would say that's definitely still true at the end of this. It is about a private detective woman who is investigating a murder that happened at a magic school. So basically it's a high school for magical kids, but it's kind of weird because it's like a public school version of Hogwarts, you know what I mean? There's gum under the desks and someone graffitied the lockers. Like, it's totally like a regular high school, but like all the kids have magic. And also there's a murder. We are following Ivy, who is definitely fits the T of a noir hero, I guess. There's no real heroes in noir, and Ivy is frankly a mess of a human. Like, she needs some intensive therapy, but she is a detective. She is basically our private eye character in this noir tale. And she has a twin sister who is actually a teacher at this school, and the thing is, the twin sister has magic, Ivy, zero magic. So there's a whole like resentment thing we're getting into here, and it gets very noir just in her nuances with things and how she makes bad decisions continually. Like, they're not bad decisions where I feel like they're just literary devices to get from point A to point B. They're bad decisions that I'm like, yeah, Ivy would make that decision. They make sense for her character. The problem is, you're reading about a character who's just a fucking hot mess. So, like, I always think I like noir, and then I read it, and then I realize I don't like noir. So this is kind of a me thing. It's like a personal taste issue, where it was like really a chore to get through this, because it was just reading about people being miserable and trying to solve a murder. And it gets very dark, and is definitely not what you think from Harry Potter. It's not lighthearted. There's murder, there's, you know, teen mean girls, and not in the cute funny way. Like, this is like some serious shit that's going down here. Like, the kids are not all right. So if you think like a really dark story, dark, you know, private detective story with murder and magic sounds awesome to you, then I do recommend picking this up. But just be aware that it is noir, so none of the characters are good people. Like, yeah, you know what? I think there's maybe one character in it who's like an okay person. But, like, it's noir, so none of the characters are really nice people. And it just kind of ends, it just ends. Frankly, there's no real, like, resolution to anything. And, I don't know. I think it's more of a, it's not you, it's me type of situation here. Because I don't feel like it's particularly poorly written. I think, like, it has, like, a big sarcastic element that kind of comes through spottily. The sarcasm doesn't always work, but it does work at certain points. And I don't know, like, it's good but not good for me. Kind of like Storm and Fury, where it's not good but it's good for me. Opposite situation here. Me personally, I read it and I thought, you know, from a technical standpoint it was very good, but just out of personal taste I wasn't really feeling it all that much. Next category is fantasy, and I read 2 of those. I finally picked up Kingsbane by Claire Legrand. Claire Legrand is like an auto-by-author for me. She has written 2 amazing books that I read last year, loved. Like, she wrote Furyborn and Saw Kill Girls on my shelf. Those are some of my favorite books. I freaking love them. And then Kingsbane, sequel to Furyborn, heck yeah. I'm gonna read the shit out of this. And this is a long book. It says 600 pages. And I'm gonna tell you right now, it's 600 pages of poor decisions and hissy fits. Yeah, I'm gonna need this for this review. Alright. I'm so disappointed in this, and like, I don't know how to describe it, because it's not necessarily poorly written. I think it's just poorly constructed. Like I was saying, it's 600 pages of hissy fits and characters making piss poor fucking decisions. And I could see like 200 pages of the story being that, and then the other, you know, 100 or 200 pages could be actual plot. But this is just the same things that keep happening again and again and again and again in different, like, scenarios. So it's just like, I felt like she just kept repeating herself over and over, and I'm like, didn't I just read this same situation like 2 chapters ago? And the answer is yes, I did, but now it's like with different characters doing the same thing, so I don't understand what was happening. I really wanted to get into this, and it failed so much. I'm just gonna say it, because this isn't really a spoiler, because this is established in chapter 1 of book 1. But like, for real, they fuck with time travel. Okay, like let's unpack that for a minute here. Time travel, I fucking hate it. It's like the worst trope ever. It never works for me. The only time it's ever kind of worked was Back to the Future 1, and then after that they just got weird, okay? It only worked in Back to the Future 1. That's the only instance of time travel working for me. It never works. It's always bad. It feels like such a bad cop-out. And then like, through this time travel fuckery, they like screw up my favorite character. Because you know, like butterfly effect, you go in the past, you change something, and in the future, shit's all different. Well, this character's fucking different now, and I don't like it. It's driving me to drink. And the thing is, when I went into this, I genuinely did not see time travel fuckery still being a thing, because they started off the book with it, but I thought it was a one-off. And in that instance, it worked, because they're not like having it be part of the plot. It's just something that happened one time, and I'm like, okay, it makes sense for the story. That's what the story's based on. But this time, they're like, no, we're gonna fuck with it. And I'm like, no, don't fuck with it. It's like it's seeing a car wreck in slow motion where you just want to stop it, but you know you can't. And with time travel. Riel and Eliana are our 2 heroines in this. They are the fated queens, a blood queen and a sun queen. And they are 1,000 years apart. And both of their stories kind of are parallel to each other. Some things happening in Riel's stories have like a parallel in Eliana's story, so it makes sense why they're being told at the same time. I don't want to get into why that is, because that might be a bit of a spoiler, but both the characters in this book were just making bad decision after bad decision, and I felt like they were becoming parodies of themselves, because in book 1, they were very complex. Like, I felt like Eliana still made shitty decisions in book 1. This time she's just taking it to another level of shitty decisions. But like Riel was my favorite character of book 1. I loved her. Her story was an allegory for feminine rage. Fucking love it. And in this one, she's just being a little snot for most of the book. And I get it. This is that bridgy novel in between the beginning and the end of the series where it's showing like her eventual downfall. Because we know from the very beginning of book 1, Riel is the villain. So we're kind of seeing how that happens. In book 1, it makes sense because, you know, feminine rage allegory. And in this one, it's like, girl, someone needs to slap you, you entitled bitch. Oh my gosh. Just the entitlement she was like spewing out. And I get it, that's part of her downslide into like villain territory, but it's boring to watch. So I'm just kind of maybe waiting for book 3. I think that book 3 might pull it back from the brink here. But now I'm very worried. Because like I've said a bunch of times, they're fucking with time travel and they shouldn't do that. It's messed a lot of things up. So many things. My favorite character, I can't say who it is, because that would be a spoiler when I say they mess up this character. I don't want to spoil anything. But they mess up this character who was my fave. I'll say this. The character I liked was a white hat character, and then after time travel, they are a black hat character. Why you gotta do me like that, Claire Legrand? Why you gotta do me like that? It's bad. So bad. I'm terribly disappointed in this. It was a chore to get through. It's 600 pages. I finished it because I was determined, but like I had to like hype myself up to read this book. Like like, you know, there's some books I can't put down. This one I was like, I want to put you down, but I can't, so now I'm just hate reading you. And it sucks because this was like one of my most anticipated reads of the whole year. And it let me down on so many levels. I mean, the cover's nice, so it has that. But like, damn. It was just, 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 gonna drink now. Whew. The other fantasy novel I read was We Hunt the Flame by Hafsah Faizal. This was also one of my most anticipated reads of 2019. It sounds incredible. It's like ancient Arabian inspired fantasy, and it has a girl who's masquerading as a boy to be a hunter and like save the world. And I was like, yes, yes, give me all of this. And I am so perplexed by like a lot of things. Like, I'll get into this, but this is very hard to review because I like it and dislike it at the exact same time. So I don't really know how I feel about it. Like, I'll explain. First off, let's talk about our heroine, Zafira. Now, I'm gonna describe her character, and you tell me when this starts sounding very familiar to you. Zafira is a girl who is a hunter, and she hunts illegally to try to provide food for her very poor family and her very poor village she lives in. Because in this world, there's all these different like districts, and each district like provides something, like one thing that the whole country needs. And she lives in this one area that's very poor and doesn't have a lot of food, so she illegally hunts for stuff, and she's like the hunter, you know, this like mythical Robin Hood-y type figure who like saves everybody, and everyone loves the hunter. She in particular is like really taking on a lot because she is taking care of her little sister, who is basically the most adorable little kid ever, who wants to be a nurse like their mother, except their mother lost her shit after their father died and like never really got over it, so she's like checked out. So it leaves Zafira to like take up all the slack and like raise his little sister, and also, you know, provide food and like provide money. It's all on her shoulders. Also, she has this best friend who helps with the hunts, who wants to run away with her. And I'm sorry, does this sound very familiar yet? Hello, welcome to Arabian Pan Am with our hero, Zafira Everdeen. Tell me she's not Katniss Everdeen. Is it just me? Am I crazy? Because like the full first like 20-30% of this book, I was like, is this the fucking Hunger Games? Like, I was very confused. It was like Arabian Hunger Games. What is happening? And it like fucked with my brain so hard. Like, I could not get over it. So then I'm just picturing Katniss Everdeen for the rest of the book. And then there's also, you know, this prince who is like the Prince of Death, and like his dad is evil, the Sultan is evil, of course, and like he forces him to kill people for him because evil, and he like tortures him, and he's all like, I'm a tortured hero, I have a good soul, but I'm forced to do evil, I'm a monster, but I have a heart of gold. Like, that character. I could name a lot of characters like that, frankly. I don't even want to list them all, but it's like a character type I have seen a lot. Do I think Nasir, the Prince of Death, was done well? Yeah, I see gems here. Like, I see this character growing more, like I understand the struggle, and there were some parts in this where I'm like, ooh, like it hit a deep emotional note, so she did go there in some instances, but a lot of it is just like, I've seen this before, that I'm not really all that surprised. Anyway, she sets off on this quest to find this book that's supposed to bring magic back and that'll like save the world, and so she goes off with her friend, and then Nasir and this general are there, and then they meet some other people along the way, and they have this little ragtag team who's looking for this book on this island. So it's kind of a quest novel trying to like save the world through magic. When I say it like that, it does sound fairly unoriginal, but the thing is, the thing she uses in this story to tell it, like the world building and the environments and even just the magic, is all wonderfully done. Like, I feel like Hafsah Faizal definitely has some talent as a writer. Like, I think she wrote the shit out of this book. The problem is, it's not original concepts, and like, for someone who reads a lot of books, it's like blatantly obvious that these character tropes have been recycled a bit. But like I said, at the same time, the world is great, the magic's great. I do like a lot of like her writing style in general. Her prose is excellent. And you know what? Even if it's just like a quest story, that doesn't like necessarily stop me from liking it. I read a lot of quest stories. That's kind of what stories are a lot of the time. And none of that bothered me. I liked a lot of the elements of this story. The problem was structurally, I didn't think it was working. To explain that, the chapters in here are very short, and personally, like, I like short chapters, but the problem is it's dual POV. So you have like a page of one POV, you turn to the page, and it's like another chapter with another POV, and I think you're switching too often that she's just not letting things like settle. Like, I would have preferred longer chapters in this instance. Like, let's stay in this character's mindset for a while, then go to the other character. It was just so flip-flop, flip-flop, flip-flop that it didn't work for the story, and it kind of just made it so it was drawn out too far. Like, you could have like cut scenes, rearranged some things, and made the chapters structured differently, and I feel like this would have been very exciting and compelling to read. So it's suffering just from a structural standpoint, which I felt maybe could have been caught in editing. It's not the most exciting time I've had reading a book. Like, I've read books that less stuff happens in that's more exciting than this. Like, this book has a lot of shit going on all the time, but it wasn't very exciting. It's hard to put my finger on exactly why, besides it's the structure, where things didn't have enough time to develop before we like went a different direction and went back this direction and that one. So I just kept feeling I was being batted around perspective wise. So bottom line here, do I like Saphira Everdeen? Yes, Katniss Everdeen's a dope character. I liked Saphira too. And do I think like this story has potential? Yeah, you know what? I do like the story overall. I feel like it needed to be told differently. It could have been told better and I would have liked it more, but it's not the story that's suffering. The story is solid, her prose is solid, world building, magic, loved all that kind of stuff. It just was structured kind of poorly. So I feel with like a little bit of a structure overhaul, this could have been really compelling. So I'm in that weird thing where like, I give respect to like the talent here, but realistically, did I enjoy reading this? Like, kinda no. It was another one I had to slog through. Like, I had to push myself to read this. Also, this is 500 pages. It needs to be like 400 pages. Like I was saying, yeah, structure. This is a structural issue, but like content-wise, not bad, pretty good. So I gave it like 3 stars. I had to because it was a slog to get through, but lots of potential here for goodness. So I don't know if I recommend it or not. I think it's just up to you. You try it out and see if you like it. Last category is Wicked Spirits Book Club, and this is the book of the month. I read the book of the month super early, so this is Halfway to the Grave by Jeaniene Frost, and I just wanted to read it, so I made sure I read it before my surgery. This was also a palate cleanser book, if I'm being real. I was reading a bunch of books I did not like that much. I was like, I know it's good, but I don't care. And I'm like, you know what I need? Sexy vampires. Give me all of the sexy vampires. And this did. It gave me sexy vampires. It like delivered exactly what I wanted it to deliver. I was happy. Is it the best urban fantasy / paranormal romance I've ever read? No, arguably not. But was it fun to read? Heck yeah, it was. A heavy dose of why I like this so much was the male lead. I mean, his name is Bones, which is stupid. That's a stupid name. But then again, he is hardcore, giving me Spike from Buffy vibes, except with like better hair and more morals. And I was like, living for it? Who else is a fan of Spike from Buffy? Like me? Total Spike fan. I'm just gonna say he had to go earn his soul. He wasn't cursed with it like Angel, who didn't do anything besides kill a person and someone cursed him. No, Spike went on and earned it. So he had like some goodness left in his demonness to go earn a soul. Just saying, Spike's a good character. This one too, Bones, great character. English, bleached blonde hair, more morals, so it's like Spike after Soul. And just like a dope character, he's snarky. They go fight bad vampires in it. They're trying to stop a human trafficking ring, so it's crime fighting, sexy vampires with smutty delights. It gave me everything it needed to give me. You know, like it met expectations perfectly. I don't know if it necessarily exceeded them greatly, but they were definitely fun. You know, I'm gonna say this is one of the first books I read for Wicked Spirits Book Club that I'm like, you know what, I wanna read book 2. Not a lot of them, I'm going on to the second book. I'm reading the first one and being like, all right, well, I tried that series and wasn't into it. This one I'm like, all right, like tell me more about you, Bones. Like tell me more. And especially after this ending, holy shit, oh my gosh. The ending kind of ruined me and I was very upset about it. So that's a contributing factor for me wanting to read book 2, because they need to fix what they fucked up here. But I don't want to go into really more about this, because eventually we are going to have a live show on Lauren from the Novelicious channel sometime in September after my nose heals from surgery. So it'll happen then, and we'll like get into all the goodness. But yeah, sexy vampires, Spike from Buffy being sexy. It's got everything I wanted. Whew, okay, yeah, this is a wine from the bottle kind of night. Like I was saying, I've just got a lot going on. I'm reading books that I don't love, and I think that's the thing. It's just making me feel so burnt out. Like, I feel so burnt out on reading right now because I'm not reading things I like. You know what I mean? I'm like forcing myself to read things I don't like. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I have all these books I want to read, but then I don't like them. So I don't know if it's me or the books I'm picking. I'm not sure what's going on here. But anyway, I'm just gonna go drink my troubles away and try to relax because my surgery is literally in like 3 days. So it's coming very soon. Let me know in a comment down below, have you read any of these books? If so, what were your thoughts on it? Are you like me where you're just like, I don't get it, like it could be good but it's not good for me, or I'm in this weird place where I don't know how to feel? Like, are you there with me? Are you having a slump too? Because I feel like I am on the verge of like a slump and a half. Let me know down below. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like. And if you want to see more videos, make sure you subscribe. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye.